women with invisible illnesses realize that you can still lead a pretty healthy and active lifestyle. It's just not going to be the one you had envisioned for yourself, but time marches on, and sitting around feeling sorry for yourself is not a winning strategy. It's self fulfilling. That being said, I had kind of a pity party all day. I get I get a lot of nausea problems, and been a lot better. It's been a lot better the last few months. But man, I woke up this morning and it was just like, holy smokes. I think it was a precursor to a nasty headache, which I'm dealing with right now. But sorry, hair in my mouth. But I went to the doctor this morning. So bonus, I established myself with a doctor down here. I went to a family practice clinic through UT Health, and I liked her. I liked her because when you have weird health issues, it can be really interesting going to a new MD because most of them things have changed a lot, fortunately, since I was first diagnosed. Most doctors are really kind to me and treat me with respect, but there's still an awful lot of them out there that when they hear fibromyalgia or Hashimoto's, just the look, yeah, you know what, jackass, want to trade places? You be the one to feel like crap, and I'll be the one to be a condescending jackass about the whole thing and charge you a ton of money for it. But she was nice. I liked her. Excuse me. She refilled my nausea meds, so I gave for her. And I couldn't see a lot of specialists in Fairbanks because it's just a little town in the middle of nowhere. And she's I'm having a hard time talking. She's getting me set up with a couple of different specialists. So I'm actually looking forward to that. I mean, sort of, as much as you can look forward to going to the doctors. But, maybe they'll tell me, maybe they can help me. Maybe they'll tell me something I don't know. I don't know much. I'll be real honest, but newsflash, neither do they. Anyway, it seemed like a perfect day. Plus, I'll be honest, I'm tired and I didn't want to think of anything fascinating. But I like to talk about this every few months because it's a really important topic. And it's, of course, very meaningful to me personally, and certainly meaningful today of all days, since I did go to a new doctor this morning. So here are some things that a doctor with chronic illness wishes that people knew. And I got to tell you, a lot of this shit should never have to be said. But here we are, nevertheless. This first one reads like, why does this have to be said? But, as someone who's dealt with health issues for a long time, it does need to be said. We need to do better as a society. Number one, nobody wants to be sick. Why do we have to tell people that? Truly, why the hell does a doctor feel that that's the most important thing to lead this list off with? By the way, this is from themighty.com. Look, we just want our lives back. Well, okay, I don't really want my old life back because I wasn't that great of a person before, and I've really learned a lot and grown a lot as a result of dealing with these health issues. But I want my old health back. I want to be able to. We just want to have a life again that's not revolving around all this BS. We're just looking for answers and for help. And y'all would probably be really surprised how hard it is when you don't fit into a tiny little pigeonhole, how hard it can be to get help from the medical community. Which brings me perfectly to point number 2. Many doctors just don't get it. Look, until fairly recently, the assumption was that people like me, oh, you're just crazy. You got mental issues. And the only treatments that were offered were antidepressants and anxiety meds because they thought that's what was driving the illness. Well, it's kind of, in my opinion, which is not educated, I don't have any fancy degrees, but as someone who's lived with this, it's kind of a chicken or the egg argument. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which came first, does it? You still have to address the problem. You still have to deal with the pain. You still have to deal with all the other symptoms that go along with it. And actually, for a long time, wouldn't even give you meds. They'd just send you to a shrink. Go talk to somebody. Well, again, there's a lot to be said for the emotional aspect of this, despite mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence, this is still an issue with doctors dismissing or belittling people like me. Several years ago, many years ago, I went to my clinic at home, And I saw a doctor that, because I wasn't really established with anybody at that point. So it was just kind of figuring all this out, or just starting to figure all this out. And he told me there's no such thing as fibromyalgia. I was like, excuse me. And he basically gave me this lecture about how I'm mentally ill. And I got super pissed. And I went home and I called my parents and I said, I know that you know somebody on the board of directors there. So they did, and they gave me her name, and I wrote her a letter and told her about my experience. And I in the letter I said, I literally just read an article from the Mayo Clinic about the benefits of acupuncture for fibromyalgia. I said, and now I've got this guy in Fairbanks, Alaska, telling me that fibromyalgia doesn't exist. Whose opinion do you think I'm going to put more weight in? The world famous Mayo Clinic or some schmuck in Fairbanks? Hint, it wasn't the schmuck in Fairbanks. Well, my parents didn't know, much to our amazement and my absolute delight. Not that I would wish this on anybody, but the woman I wrote the letter to, the administrator at the clinic, she has fibromyalgia, and he got his ass lit up, apparently. So I got a letter of apology. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that. Hell, I would have loved to have been there when she read my letter. But it's true. They either they don't want to believe you, or a lot of times I honestly, I think that they don't know how to deal with us. So it's just easier to blow it off. Oh, well, you're crazy. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with your fibromyalgia. I don't want to deal with this crap. I can't fix it. Now, my advice to you, if you're in a small town and you don't have a lot of medical options, you're probably not going to find a doctor who knows anything at all about your weird medical condition. So try to find somebody who will at least listen to you and take you seriously. For several years, I had a doctor that I got along with pretty well. And the reason I got along with her, she freely admitted, I know nothing about your condition. I know nothing about your situation, but she would listen to me, and we would have pretty intense conversations about, this is what I'm experiencing. Let's try this, let's try that. And if I didn't want to try something, we didn't try it. And I really appreciated that. So if you're in a small town, try to find somebody. Oh my God, I'm getting spammed. Does that mean I've made it? Does that mean I'm making it a little bit on YouTube if I'm getting spammed? Anyway, try to find someone who's going to listen to you. It's going to be your best option if you're in a small town. Probably. You might get really lucky and find someone who knows. But point number 3, again, shit that should never have to be said. I'm not even going to try to watch the language tonight. I'm too tired and I just don't care right now. Being unable to work is not a vacation. Now, it might sound fun on the outside, but how much fun do you think it is when you feel so crappy that you can't even get out of bed? That for you to make it from your bed to the couch, for that to be an achievement for the day. I have days like that sometimes. Thank goodness not very often anymore. But I have days like that, and that sucks. Our lives can shrink to the point that all it is medical appointment after medical appointment after medical appointment. Or you're sitting home alone because nobody wants to hang out with you. It's just a fact. Not trying to make anybody feel bad. It's just a fact. So you're home alone hurting, or you're at the damn doctor. What kind of life is that? Most people that I know with chronic illness would far rather be productive. And I know I am very blessed that I am able to work a full-time job. Number 4, the emotional impact of chronic pain is severely underrated. Pain can actually change the biochemistry of the mood control center in your brain. The depression and the anxiety that come with it are caused, well, of course, I'm sorry, but when you feel like crap all the time, it's depressing and it's sad and you get a lot of anxiety. But, for most of us, it takes years to get a diagnosis. So the wait and the search for diagnosis causes anxiety. It causes depression. The inability to work and feel productive. The change in family dynamics, because everybody's lives have changed, whether, none of us have asked for this, but everybody around us is impacted. It's just the way it goes. It's really sad to me how many women that I know who have been abandoned by their partner because they got sick. Now, am I saying women don't ever do that to men? Of course not. There's crappy people all over. But a lot of men, and I think for the men, part of it too is that they can't fix it, so they can't handle it. But it really is very sad to me. Anyway, that was not intended as a dig to men. It just popped into my head. But it does change the family dynamics. We're very socially isolated. People have given me a lot of crap. I mean, not, I don't think in a mean spirited way. At least I choose not to see it in a mean spirited way. But man, you spend a lot of time on social media. Well, yeah, it's my social life. That's kind of sad, isn't it? But it is. It's hard for me to make plans with anybody because I never know how I'm going to feel. And what might sound really good tonight when the date comes, like, I'm flaring. I can't go. I can't go do that. And you know how many times people have called me a flake? Oh my God, are you canceling plans again, Courtney? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not up to it. So our worlds get really small. We're dealing with a lot of financial stress. This shit is expensive, y'all. It's very expensive. I'm blessed to have good insurance, and it's still very expensive. We struggle with simple daily tasks. If I love taking baths. It's honestly one of my favorite things in the world. The best simple pleasures. So I like to keep my bathroom really, really clean. It's generally the cleanest room in my house. And I know if I really like scrub down the tile and everything, the walls of the shower, that can throw me into a flare so bad I'm in bed for the next 2 days. I'm not exaggerating. What the hell kind of life do you think that is? We're depressed and we're full of anxiety because we grieve. We want our old lives back. We want to be able to clean the bathroom without worrying about it. We want to be able to look forward to the future. You know, I spent a lot of years in a very severe depression because all I could see when I looked to my future was just pain and back then narcotics. I don't take narcotics very often anymore, but pain and drugs and medical appointments. What the hell kind of life is that? Y'all, I was doing this when I was like 40. That's no way to live. So yeah, there is a lot of grief involved. The emotional aspect of this shit is so much harder to deal with than the physical. For the most part, I can set a lot of the physical aside. I can push it to the back of my head. I can almost always get focused on something else where that's not an issue. But I can't outdo the emotional aspect. Number 5, the symptoms are very complex, which is part of why a diagnosis is so hard, I would imagine. Now, obviously, the symptoms are going to vary illness to illness, but there are a lot of commonalities across chronic illness. Commonalities include extreme fatigue. That doesn't even come close to describing it truly. But pain, brain fog, nausea. I'm telling you, this morning, I would not have been surprised. I have nausea meds, so I never got sick, but I would not have been surprised had my feet come out of my mouth. I was that queasy. Dizziness. The pain can be intense. It's our joints, it's our muscles, it's our nerves, it's our back, it's our neck. It's headaches. It's literally everything. When I used my chiropractor at home, I used to have these little paper things that you'd sign in on. It had the front and back of a body, and you're supposed to X where you were hurt, and I would just make a big X across the whole body. And then when he moved to a computer thing and he had to touch everywhere you hurt, they just didn't even bother having me check in because they knew. A good day, the ubiquitous they, as I like to say, they say that a good day for someone like me was going to put you in bed. Supposedly, I have no idea how they would qualify this, but supposedly a good day for me is like you having the flu body aches. Well, how productive were you the last time you had the flu? But that's my life. It's just what I deal with. Suck it up, buttercup. The thing is, it's the inconsistencies of it. I had a massage therapist that I terribly miss. Katie, if you're watching this, girl, I miss you so much. But we would, I'd go in and we'd talk about what's going on and how's your body. And then this and that, and this is weird and that's weird, but this is suddenly improved. And she'd always listen and she'd nod and say, so Consistently inconsistent as usual. Yes. Those inconsistencies, that's what makes it so hard for us to make plans. That's what makes it so hard for us to keep plans. Point number 6. Chronic illness fatigue is so far beyond tired. It's overwhelming. It's easily triggered by daily activities. Like I told you, sometimes cleaning my bathroom is enough to put me in bed for a couple of days. I love going to conferences. I love nothing more than spending a weekend around a bunch of motivated, positive, uplifting people. But I know when I go to that, I know it's going to take a hell of a high toll on me. It just is what it is. Anything that I do that's a big event, I'm going to pay a price for it. And I know that. That sucks. And when the fatigue hits, rest is not an option. I remember, it was not long before COVID. I went to work, and I shouldn't have. I always most people with chronic illness, we tend to push much too hard. But I was at work, and I was so tired. My eyes seriously kept rolling back in my head. And my boss got so mad at me. He's like, "Why in the hell did you come in?" I said, honestly, I didn't know what the hell else. I didn't know what else to do with myself all day. I didn't want to just sit home and feel sorry for myself. He wanted to send me home really bad, but when I put it that way, he's like, just if you pass out, don't fall and hurt yourself. Okay, I'll try. It's not like I can control that. And I've never passed out from it. Well, not from that, but it really gets that bad. When that fatigue hits, I don't have a choice. I have to rest. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter what deadlines I'm facing at work. It doesn't matter what plans I have with somebody. I have no option but to rest. And what y'all need to understand is we're not trying to be lazy. We're not trying to avoid going out with you. We just can't. We hit that wall and we just can't. Number 7, brain fog is maddening. It's always hard, it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in, which aspect of this is the most frustrating. But brain fog is very, very difficult. For one thing, it's hard to describe to people. But it's an actual cognitive dysfunction. It can leave us struggling for words. It impacts our concentration and our recall. The best way I have found to describe it, and this, I don't even know if this makes any sense to anybody else, but it's like my head is packed really tight with cotton, and that my thoughts are trying to force their way through, and they don't always make it. And I can be in the middle of talking to someone and about a subject I really know, and I'm having this really passionate and oh crap, not only do I forget what I'm saying, but I will literally forget the entire conversation, and I'll stand there and I realize this happens to everybody sometimes, but it happens to us fairly often. And it's not, like I said, it's not just forgetting what I was about to say, it's forgetting the entire conversation. You know how awkward that is? Obviously, I have no problem with public speaking. I love to be up in front of a group of people with a microphone, which is funny because on my downtime, I like to be alone. I like to be quiet. I very rarely, I'll listen to some stuff on YouTube once in a while, but I don't play a lot of music in the house. I don't have the TV on all the time. I like it quiet. I'm very introverted in that regard, but I do love to be in front of people speaking. Well, imagine if you're up on a stage and you lose not just your train of thought, but your whole topic. That hasn't happened to me, but it's seriously, it's something I think about because I was having I'm rambling. Sorry. I was having a conversation several years ago with a gentleman I was working with, and we were talking about fibromyalgia and what it was like. And I'm right in the middle of this really big point. And he could see it on my face. It was like a light switch. And then I just stood there and I stared at him, and he finally said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm really sorry, but what the hell are we talking about?" It was embarrassing. Anyway, yes, brain fog is maddening. Tip number 8, we run a greater risk of serious infections. And in the COVID age, that's saying something. I've had COVID twice now. I can't get the shot, don't want the shot, can't get it anyway, even if I wanted it. It's a serious issue for me. And look, my immune system's busy fighting my own body. A minor cold for you can turn into something really major for somebody like me. I realize for some people, staying home when you're sick isn't really an option, but for a lot of people it is. So don't swagger through work if you don't feel good, because you could really have a negative impact on somebody else. In fact, this fall, before I came to Texas, my employer said, "Hey, will you please come into the office a couple days a week until you go?" I didn't want to, but I said, okay. Well, I went in for 3.5 days. Somebody exposed me to COVID. I was really sick for 3.5 weeks. I didn't end up in the hospital or anything, but I mean, it was a rough 3.5 weeks. And then I had a long recovery. I had a long enough recovery that I worried for a little bit that I had long COVID. But anyway, if you're sick and you can at all afford it, stay the hell home, or at least keep to yourself. And when I would go to the office, now this wasn't when I was up there temporarily, but when I was working full time, face to face, I had a lot of knickknacks on my desk because having my stuff around makes me happy. And I worked with this guy that could certainly afford to stay home. And he was in one day, and he's, when you go into somebody's office and they got a lot of knickknacks, you always end up fiddling with them. And he's kind of fiddling with my knickknacks. And then he mentions to me how sick he is. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? And I grabbed the Clorox wipes out of my desk, and I literally kicked him away from me. Get away from me. What the hell are you doing? You're going to get me sick. He was like, oh my, I can't believe you're being so rude. Like, I can't believe you're standing here touching all my stuff. I had to clean not that it was bad to clean everything, but I was really pissed. Point number 9, foods can trigger symptoms. Yes, they can. Gluten, dairy, soy, yeast, booze, processed food, sugar. Sugar is unfortunately very inflammatory. Gluten is extremely inflammatory. Soy, yeah, all of it. It's all inflammatory. Damn it. And you know what's really bad? I don't know how or why, but out of nowhere tonight, I was just all of a sudden, I really want a high quality piece of chocolate cake. I'm not going to get one, but I really, really want one. Anyway, all those can trigger my symptoms. Now, if you're somebody dealing with health issues and you can't figure out what's flaring you up, you're really going to have to keep a food journal. And I know it sucks. There's not much I hate more than keeping a food journal, but that's the only way that you're going to be able to tell exactly what's causing you to have a response. So you're going to have to write it down. Number 10. Oh, this is so true. Sensitivity to smells is common. Perfumes, colognes, cleaning supplies. When I was going to the office face to face, I love to go walk the stairs. And one of the stairwells in my building, it's enclosed, it's got doors at each floor. So it's kind of sealed off from the rest of the building. Well, I opened the door one day and I start up the stairs and the smell hit me. They changed the cleaning solution that they were using in the stairs. And I am not kidding. I barely made it to the next doorway. And I just burst out of there, gasping for air. My eyes were watering. I had the raging headache the rest of the day. Smoke. Yes, smoke can trigger symptoms. And I love perfume. I love good perfume. And I love the smell of essential oils. But if it's too much, it can trigger headaches. It can trigger nausea, brain fog, and it just flares me up. And finally, point number 11. I promise I'm almost done. This is something obviously I'm very passionate about. Management takes a ton of effort. Y'all have no freaking idea. My entire life is spent walking a tightrope. And it takes nothing for me to fall one side or the other. We tend to lead very regimented lives, lots of rest. I try to go to bed at the same time every day. I try to wake up at the same time every day. Yes, even on the weekends, even when I want to sleep in, because it's important for my body to have that routine. Med schedules. Now, I don't take a lot of meds. I do take my thyroid meds. I try to take them at the same time every day because it does impact my day. But a lot of other people in my situation, they do take a lot of medications. You have to stay, especially if you're taking something for the pain, which, side note, they wouldn't give me anything in Alaska. Every time I asked, it was like I was some junkie that shuffled in off the street. And this doctor was like, you don't take anything for that? I said, no, ma'am, I do not. Anyway, you got to stay ahead of the pain. If you don't stay ahead of the pain, you're screwed. It cascades out of control. We have to avoid trigger foods. We have to avoid super strong smells. We have to avoid loud noises, bright lights, and still try to lead a normal life. I got to tell you, the people who have these kinds of illnesses and have small children, all the respect in the world because I don't know how. I realize we all deal with whatever, whatever life's hands you, you have to figure it out, right? And I get that, but oh my God, I seriously, and I like kids, I do, but I cannot imagine trying to shuffle small children while dealing with this mess. We're trying to deal with all this crap and still lead our lives. Sometimes we just say to hell with it and want to throw caution to the wind and go out and be a normal person. I know if I go out and have a bacon cheeseburger, I know damn well I'm going to pay for it. But you know what? Sometimes I just want to go out and have a bacon cheeseburger and hang out with my girlfriends, have a couple of cocktails, have maybe one too many cocktails, definitely more than I should have. I just want to be a normal person who doesn't have to worry about the implications of that. Side note, I never drink and drive. You should always worry about that implication. And if you know somebody, if you have somebody in your life who's dealing with this stuff, don't be the food police. Don't be the booze police. It's not your place. We know we are so much more aware of the price we're going to pay for that than you are ever going to be. But you know what? Sometimes we just want to put it all aside and go out and have a good time and not worry about it. You know what else does that to me? Damn it. And it's one of my favorite things, seafood risotto. There's a restaurant at home called the Pump House. It makes a great seafood risotto, and I love it so much. But you know what? I feel almost exactly the same as you do after a bacon cheeseburger. Isn't that a bunch of BS? Because you'd think the risotto would be a lot healthier, but it is not for me. But you know what? That's brings up the why you should keep a food journal. Just because something seems like it would be healthy on the surface, it may not work for you. Anyway, I am totally rambling at you, but if somebody that is dealing with this and they throw caution to the wind, don't lecture. Don't sit there the next day and be like, I knew you were going to feel like this, or I told you so. Don't do that, because it just makes you kind of a jackass. Okay, not just kind of, it makes you a total jackass. Don't do that. We deserve to just kick up our heels once in a while too. But I said I was going to go. I cannot believe I've been rambling at you guys. I would never watch it. I can't say that I would never, but boy, someone would have to be really damned entertaining to keep me on for 27 and plus minutes. So if you've made it this far, God bless you. You're a kind and patient person. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a shrink, but I'm someone who's been dealing with this crap for a really long time. So if this is something that you're struggling with, drop me a line and I'd be more than happy to give you some advice and share some of the tricks that I've learned on how to cope with this over the years. Because A, it's been a while, and B, even my doctors were always really impressed. Now, not my new ones, I just met her, but my doctors at home were always really impressed with how well I roll with the punches, because this shit is not easy. But it's made me a stronger person, and I'm grateful for that. Anyway, y'all take care. Have a great weekend, and I will be back Monday. I almost said at 5 o'clock Alaska time. No, Monday, 7 o'clock Central. Thanks. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing.